Hello, and welcome everybody to another episode of r/ProRevenge. My name's Ryan, the official host here at Reddit Voice, and if this is your first time tuning in, this is the part where I ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date on our videos before I show you the latest and greatest from this particular subreddit. Millions lost over a single flight. I was doing some HR training at work today, and the HR rep told a story which was given as an example of one of the consequences of poor customer services. When my coworker was going to be married, the wedding was out of state so as to be closer to his and the bride's families. One of his friends who was going to be in attendance had to fly coast to coast across the US in order to attend. The day of the wedding, his flight was cancelled, and the airline refused to rebook him a flight in time, and on top of that, were not kind or hospitable at all. As a result, he missed his good friend's wedding, and this pissed him off. What the airline didn't know was that this particular person worked as a travel agent. His job was to book commercial flights for large groups, and this airline was one of the bigger international airlines based in the US, and someone he would normally consider when booking flights. However, this airline refused to rebook his cancelled flight and caused him to miss his best friend's wedding. He refused to even consider them as an option for his clients. He was so pissed off by the airline's customer service that he even kept track of how many times he could have booked a flight with them, but instead chose another, perhaps even more expensive option. Over the next couple years, he cost the airline over $2 million in lost revenue because they were rude to him and refused to rebook his flight, causing him to miss his friend's wedding. Obligatory sorry for formatting, I'm on mobile. Bridezilla Catering Rage. I posted this on ProRevenge, but I think it belongs here as well. I used to manage a catering company for my boss while he was undergoing chemotherapy. This is one of my first gigs where I was in charge. The bride calls me at 1 in the afternoon the day before the wedding and decides she wanted a cheaper menu. She and her husband already paid for almost everything and it's far too late to change it. I told her that, and she started throwing a bitch fit, saying that she wants to change the steak to a chicken, and demanded we either serve chicken or charge her the price of chicken, and she will not be paying for anything extra. I informed her that according to the contract, she is to receive 150 steak lunches at the price of $50 per plate, and it also states that she cannot change the menu unless she does it a month before the wedding. When she hears this, she flips the hell out and starts screaming at me, calling me illiterate, and telling me her fiancé is a lawyer and that they'll sue me, etc., etc. She handed the phone over to her fiancé, and he also started screaming at me, saying it's his damn wedding and he can have whatever he wants. They end up firing me at that moment, and I inform them that the cancellation fee is 90% of the cost of catering, which I already paid for, and they start screaming at me, telling me that I ain't shit and they can go to anyone to cater for them, and they're going to make me pay for it, etc., etc. They end up hanging up on me, thank God, and I had an inkling that I should probably keep making the food in case they call tomorrow and they want us to cater. So we finish cooking, and the next day at 7 a.m. I get a call from the groom and he demands that I come down there and cater the wedding, or they're gonna sue me for not providing the service. I calmly tell the guy that they terminated the contract yesterday, and as per the termination clause on the contract, we're entitled to keep 90% of the entire cost of catering. He's raging. He didn't say anything, but I can feel how mad he is over the phone. After a moment of awkward silence, I inform him that if he would like us to cater the event, he has to do same-day catering, which is 3 times the original price I charged him. He has to pay all fees in advance, and the food depends on what we have available and ready, and we also reserve the right to refuse service. He gets really pissed off at this point, telling us this is extortion and that he already paid for food so he didn't have to pay again. I informed him again of the termination clause and also informed him that the food was for a previous contract and that contract ended and he would have to pay for it again. He ended up starting a new contract with us and for 3 times the original price. He tried to change the menu again just to spite me, and I then made sure he knew I reserved the right to refuse service. He and his Bridezilla kept everything the same down to the baby carrots and of course the steak, all while paying me 3 times the original price that they could have gotten if they had just stuck with the original contract. As soon as we got to the venue, before I got anything out, I made the bride and groom sign the new contract and pay me completely in advance, $22K, and left to deposit the money. While I was gone, they harassed my caterers and threatened someone with deportation, even though they were legal. He tried to sue us later, and the judge heard the recorded phone calls, saw the contract, and told him to pay my legal fees. I looked them up on Facebook recently, and apparently they're divorced now. It's only been 3 years. TLDR, Bridezilla cancels catering and terminates contract a day before the wedding, only to rehire us and pay 3 times as much for same-day service. Ended up suing us, and lost because the evidence was on our side. Dad left mom to be with homewrecker. Little brother exposed homewrecker on their reception. Never piss off my little bro. Dad cheated on mom and left her to be with homewrecker. Mom is a very strong woman. Myself and my little brother were quite devastated. We went from having a perfect family to having to switch houses every week. Mom went depressed, but she kept a strong face for our sake. She encouraged us to be at least civil with her so we could still have our dad in our lives. I wanted nothing to do with him and the homewrecker. My little brother changed. He went from being a kind and respectful kid to a kid with a mission. His words exactly were, "They're both going to regret this." My brother idolized my dad, but now he wanted to hurt him. I didn't want any sort of relationship with the homewrecker, but my brother still wanted to have a relationship with my dad. I only went for his sake, and her and dad both sat us down and apologized on how things ended up. My brother looked pissed, but he just played it cool. I can tell when he's faking his attitude. I had just graduated high school, and I was rescheduled to attend college for the following September. I needed out of this toxic situation. I kept in regular contact with my mom and brother, but with dad it was minimal. Whenever he texted me, I was civil, but I was not as loving as I used to be. After my first year, I went back home for the summer, and lo and behold, Dad and homewrecker are getting married and wanted us to be a part of it. I wasn't having any of it, but my brother encouraged me to participate because it would make Dad happy before his world came crashing down. I asked him what he meant by that, and all he said was that I should definitely go to the wedding. "It's going to be a day to remember," were his words exactly. What could a 16-year-old do? Well, my brother proved to me that age does not matter. The wedding ceremony was actually nice, and so was the reception. The wedding, by the looks of it, costed at least 30 grand. They went all out. During the reception, they showed a PowerPoint displaying all of the happy couple good times. My brother had the biggest grin on his face, but he wouldn't tell me why. The PowerPoint is going on, and I'm dying of boredom. And all of a sudden, I just hear a bunch of gasps, and my brother nudged me to look up at the screen. There for 300 people to see on a massive screen was the homewrecker sucking on another man's face. It was dead quiet. People were just staring at the bride, and Dad got up and left. She went after him in tears, and I just looked at my brother and he winked. They had to cancel the rest of the reception. It was a sight. At home, I pulled my brother to the side and asked him if he did that. He admitted to everything. Turns out a week prior, he was out with his friends at the restaurant and saw a homewrecker and a mystery man. He spied on them the whole time, even followed them into the parking lot, and they kissed, and he captured it on his camera and snuck it into the PowerPoint before the reception began. He then goes to say that he wanted both Dad and homewrecker to suffer. He did not want to show Dad because he wanted Dad to be at his happiest before he popped the bubble. My brother is a savage. Plus, there was a bonus that both of them spent a lot of money on their wedding, only to have it ruined in the most humiliating way possible. All of this happened last month. Mom is doing a lot better. She's in therapy, and when she found out what happened, she burst out laughing. Doesn't know who's responsible, and she never will. Homewrecker doesn't want an annulment, but Dad doesn't want anything to do with her. He kicked her out of his house. We watched from a safe distance. And after this experience, I will never try to mess with my brother again. Steal my medication, I'll make you seriously regret it. So when I was 15, I was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia. Now, despite what TV shows and movies portray it as, not all schizophrenics are serial killers. If you can keep your medication in balance, you can live a perfect normal life. And from the ages of 15 to 20, it was rather hard as we tried from the right balance and medications for me. But it's been 11 years since I was first diagnosed and has been 6 years since I had any really bad symptoms. There's been a few minor issues when my meds would go out of balance, but nothing too extreme. Anyway, this happened about 3 years ago. I had just moved into a new apartment with 2 new roommates. We'll call them Zach and Rachel. Anyways, due to my illness, I take multiple medications. Antipsychotics, antidepressants, and an anti-anxiety medication, just to name a few. These are all rather strong medications. So when I moved in and got settled in, I started to notice some of my meds going missing. I have my pills counted out and ready, so I know exactly how many I have. I immediately suspect my roommates, as they were the only ones with access to my room. I also knew for a fact that they took other medications to get high. They were pretty open about it, but I had no proof, and I didn't want to risk pissing them off as I had to live with them. So I looked past it, hoping it was a one-time thing. But it wasn't. After a few days of this, I lost it and confronted them. They denied it, and of course I have no proof. I even got a lock for my room, but somehow they still managed to get in. So here is where the revenge starts. Due to all my medications, I get constipated a lot, so I have a very strong laxative I take when this happens. They're tiny pinkish pills, and if you don't know about medication, you could easily mistake them for something else. One morning before heading to work, I took my antipsychotic pill bottles and switched out the pills for my laxatives, and then I left. When I came home that evening, both my roommates were in the washrooms. I asked Rachel what was wrong, and she made up some bullshit food poisoning excuse. They spent the whole night in and out of the bathroom. My medication stopped disappearing after that night. And with that, my friends, we've reached the end of today's video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like and also subscribe. Have you ever dealt with any crazy situations with the airline before? Make sure to let me know about it in the comment section below. As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here at Reddit Voice, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.